that 1 out of 5 people in their 20s, and I've got a feeling some of you are in your 20s, and others hope to be very soon, they believe that 1 out of 5 young people in their 20s are walking around with some form of depression. Depression. You shouldn't be depressed in your 20s. You got to wait till you're old like me, you know? And you got a reason to be depressed. No, I'm seriously though. That's the exact opposite of happiness, right? Now, how many of you have ever heard the term midlife crisis? What does that mean? What do you think it means? Somebody's having a midlife crisis. Anybody? Huh? When you have a midlife crisis, it's time to buy a red convertible or something like that, right? Yeah. That's supposed to be part of the solution, right? A midlife crisis is like when you hit that part of your life and you say, and by the way, even people who have money have a midlife crisis. So somebody who has money in their life, they hit a midlife crisis and they say, is this really what it was about? Yeah, I got the money, but where's all the happiness? You know, where's the meaning and the significance? It's like a wake-up call. And people who don't have money, they have the same midlife crisis and they say, wait a second, this wasn't my plan. I didn't think, you know, I was going to have to mow lawns on the weekends to make my car payment. Right? So, you've heard of the midlife crisis. I've got sad news for you. There's a book out called The Quarter-Life Crisis. What is going on that young people in their mid-20s are having a quarter-life crisis? The book is fascinating. It says that, you know, you're ready to become millionaires by age 21. Let's go. The time is now. And when you're 22, 23, 24, 25, it hasn't happened. If you weren't one of the internet billionaires, it's depressing. How could my life have turned out this way? Right? There's a term for your generation, or some of you right on the cusp of it. Have you heard the term millennials? See, we're talking about you. You don't know. You're busy in school, having fun, socializing. I got it. You know, braving the weather and come listen to a crazy American tonight. But we're talking about you. We're studying you. We're trying to get ready for you. We want you in our companies. We want to serve you as customers. We want you to be partners and vendors and work together, right? So we're trying to study you and understand you, because your generation is different than the generation before you, the Generation X. Just like that generation is different than the generation before them. We study each other so we figure out how we work together. And some people have a nickname for your generation. I'll tell you what it is, but if they find out I told you, I might lose my membership, okay? So sometimes you're called the trophy generation. The trophy generation. Because the trophy generation, you know, you get trophies when you just show up to be on the team. You know what I'm talking about? How many of you got a trophy for something, even if your team didn't win? Yeah, they're everywhere. In my day, you know, 30 teams, the only team that gets trophies is the winner. The other 29 teams, you get nothing. All right? Now, you show up, you get a trophy. It's the trophy. And so what happens is, you expect to be, you know, rewarded, congratulated at work. You want your boss to be the coach, the mentor. Mom and Dad have given you great advice. By the way, your generation likes your parents. Ours, we didn't like our parents. All right, here's the point. There is a problem. There is a problem when there's a quarter-life crisis, and there shouldn't be. So, this issue bugged an entrepreneur like me. You know, those of you that are entrepreneurial, when there's a problem, don't you feel like you want to solve it? You know, when somebody says you can't do it, you say, well, maybe we can. I wonder how we can do it. I'll tell you a strategy I use for any of you that are looking to start your own business now or sometime in the future. Here's a strategy I use for every single business, all right, to see if it's a good idea. First of all, I have to think it's a good idea. Then I want to know, is anyone else doing it? Is anyone else successful? See, I like to find other people doing it. Because that tells me that it can be done. I love that. You know? So, this whole issue of can you live a happy, successful life? How many of you know people who are very happy? Sure. How many of you know people who are very happy and poor at the same time? Yeah, look at that, right? How many of you know people who are affluent, who have money? How many of you know people who are affluent, they have money, but they're also miserable? Yeah, look at that, right? So, you know people, there are people out there in both categories. What I decided to do was try and figure out why. The simple answer to a question. If everyone wants to live a happy, successful life, why do the vast majority of people fall short? Simple. In my living room one day, I wonder. And I thought maybe I'd just Google it and find the answer. But I couldn't find the answer that way. And so I went into the office and I pulled someone from one of my companies. I said, I need you to do some research. I want you to try and find some data for me. And long story short, this little pet project of mine turned out to be a 3-year research project that cost me $3 million. Whoops. Sometimes we can be impulsive, right? So, 3 years, I had a group of 10 people. We created something called the Ultimate Life Institute. To me, the ultimate life is when, like, you're living your dreams, you know? You enjoy what you're doing, and you're making a difference in the world. All the things that you raise your hand to. And I said, let's study the happiest and most successful people who have ever lived from recorded history. And let's see what they have in common. And for 3 years, and a $3 million investment, that's what we did. Thousands and thousands of hours. We interviewed over 400 people. We studied another 400 people. We also studied the studies, because I was smart. I know that other people had done this before. We got our hands on a $50 million research project that studied global happiness. And we threw that data into our mechanism. And then, how many of you know Napoleon Hill, or know of him? Sure. He's the famous author of Think and Grow Rich, among other books. And Napoleon Hill conducted a 20-year research project studying the 500 wealthiest people in America in his time. Many of the names you would recognize. And he compiled his study and findings into the book, Think and Grow Rich. We threw that into the mix. So tonight, I thought I might save you 3 years and $3 million and share the highlights of our findings. Would that interest you? Yeah, I see you shaking your head. I'm just curious, what would you do with this information? Because we did make an amazing discovery. I know what the happiest, most successful people have in common. And I can and will share it with you tonight. I'm just curious, what will you do with this information? Anybody? Yes?